Hello everybody, Helen Russian here, and today I want to talk about taking responsibility for one's actions. Case in point, a high-profile DUI case of Mr. Gregson that took place here in Las Vegas, end of May, beginning of June. I can't remember the date now. For those of you who are not familiar, just outline of what took place. Mr. Gregson, who is 53 years old, very successful businessman by all accounts. He worked for Colliers International, which is a real estate company. Definitely mover and shaker. He was really at this stage. Right now he's a felon charged with 8 counts of DUI involved crimes. Anyhow, he attended a charity golf tournament organized by his company, had quite a few drinks, we're talking more than a couple, was clearly incapacitated, decided to get behind the wheel, and not only he decided to get behind the wheel, he took in 4 passengers with him. And as he was entering his community, he didn't make the turn. The car crashed. One person died on impact, and others were thrown out of the car and were seriously injured. So that's the case in a nutshell. Mr. Gregson himself is fine, which is often the case with drunk drivers. But bottom line is, he's pleading not guilty. Now, I do know, and many of you know, it's a strategy. It's a viable strategy that any defense lawyer worth his salt will tell you to follow. The reason it's done when you're very obviously guilty, to plead not guilty, is A, hoping the district attorney will offer a deal for a lesser charge, avoid the trial, and in some cases, high-profile cases, which this, for Las Vegas, this is definitely a high-profile case. Sometimes district attorneys everywhere, not just in Las Vegas, they tend overcharge, so to speak, for high-profile cases, hoping to get the conviction, at least on 1 or 2 or 3 counts. And so that's why the lawyer will tell the defendant to plead not guilty, hoping to either throw out at least some charges, or fight some charges, or reduce the charges, or get the deal. Like I said, I perfectly well understand that. I know why it's done. But heck, let's face it. You're a grown man. You know what you did. You made a series of conscious, very conscious, bad decisions that resulted in someone's death. How about you grow a pair, be a man, and accept responsibility for what you've done? How about that? Now that I'm watching the news, and apparently the whole reason I'm even making this video now is because it's now coming to light that the lawyers for Mr. Gregson are looking into the company who organized the golf tournament. They're saying, oh, the company apparently was not irresponsible in providing so much alcohol. There was alcohol at every hole. There were not rideshare vouchers provided. Seriously, no rideshare vouchers were provided. So let's just remind ourselves, this was a charity golf tournament organized by multi-billion-dollar company with participants, quite wealthy participants, who obviously were doing it, you know, hopefully supplying quite a bit of money for whatever charity. I don't know what charity it was for. Now, they had to be provided with free rideshare vouchers, really? Or there was too much alcohol offered? Well, we all know what our limits are. We do. Every single one of us. Once you reach the age of when you start drinking, whenever it is, and had a couple of hangovers, then you know exactly what your limits are. And so it was a conscious decision on Mr. Gregson's part to consume all that alcohol, full well knowing that it's, you know, he's getting quite intoxicated. Then he consciously decided that he's gonna drive regardless, although he had, I'm sure he has a very expensive smartphone. All he had to do is push the button for Uber or Lyft, and that'll be done deal. And then he made another decision to actually take the passengers into his car, full well knowing he is not in any capacity to drive, but he actually took other people in the car. And then he was quite nasty to the guard at the gates, and then he proceeded to speed. So we're talking at least 5 decisions that he made, very conscious decisions. Yes, he was intoxicated, but he wasn't off his face, right? He wasn't. And by all accounts, he was a very successful businessman, done many million-dollar deals. In fact, depending on who you ask, some people would say he's quite ruthless and calculating. So what I'm getting at, definitely not a diminished mental capacity. And so now, in my opinion, it's time to take responsibility, especially seeing that someone is dead. Someone who had nothing to do with any of it. It was not the person, that poor woman who got killed. She was not the one encouraging him to drink. She was not the one asking him to get behind the wheel. She did get in his car, but, you know, it's just one of those things. You decide, you know, he's inviting you, or people jumping in the car. She may or may not talk to him a lot before she jumped in the car to figure out just how drunk he was. Ultimately, she really done nothing to deserve this. But Mr. Gregson himself, he made a lot of, like I said, at least 5 bad decisions in a row that resulted in someone's death. Well, don't you think it's time to say, you know what? Let me be a man. Let me take responsibility for this. Let's do this. Because I'm pretty sure if his lawyers went to district attorney and said, look, he's going to plead guilty to whatever charge, or at least a couple of them, district attorney would probably make that deal. Because then it would save us all money on a trial. But no, they're going to fight it. They're going to try to blame other people, shifting the blame. That seems to be today's thing. Shifting the blame onto someone else. Oh, yeah, I got drunk, but you know what? They were offering way too much alcohol. Yeah, that was just alcohol everywhere. And so, yeah, I got drunk, and then they were not offering me any rideshare vouchers. No, they weren't, and so I got behind the wheel. Come on now. Let's get real. Let's get real, folks. All that aside, another point to the story is I always talk about the universe and how there is karma. I'm a big believer in karma. And oftentimes, universe give us all a little nudge. And a lot of times, people tend to ignore it. Smart people, or people who understand what that is, they straight away, they understand what the nudge is, and they try. Usually it has to do with the fact that we somehow lost our way, and the universe nudges us to get back on the right path. Well, people ignore it, people don't want to pay attention, and when we don't pay attention for long enough time, universe is gonna step in, and every time universe actually has to step in to set us on the right path, it's never pretty. It never is. In fact, it's usually I read tarot cards. So in tarot cards is what we call a tower moment, and I'll show you the card for the tower so you understand what that is. You see this tower? Yeah, you see how it's burning, and there is a lightning striking it, and there are people falling out of the tower, and the tower is coming down altogether. There is thunderstorm, there is rain. You understand now why it's called tower moment. This is the absolute and total tower moment. And so, in Mr. Gregson's case, I believe what had happened, that accident that killed the passenger, that was his tower moment. And some might say, oh, what good will it do? Okay, so he'll plead guilty and he'll go to prison and whatnot. And how is that better? He probably has family. Well, I'm assuming he has family. But here is the thing. It is clear to me that universe stepped in his case. And it's not his first offense as far as driving. He was not, I think he had 1 DUI before, but he definitely had a number of speeding tickets, according to the news channels and whatnot. But I think it's more than just driving. I think there are a few other things that universe wanted him to change. and he didn't. And so say he decides he's gonna grow a pair and be a man, which honestly I don't see that forecoming, but let's say he decided, he had epiphany, he realized this is what it is and that's what he needs to do, and he'll just go to jail and he'll pay the penance. Apart from the fact that he's gonna work literally for nothing, making probably, depending where he goes, if he goes to Lovelock, so he's gonna mint our license plate. But more to the point, he can help other people if he chooses to do so, because he is definitely a very successful businessman. He achieved quite a bit in life. There is no question about that is not in doubt. He can share his experience, he can mentor people while he is there, he can quite literally change someone's life. And it seems to me he wasn't doing any of it. And like I said, universe stepped in. So overall, the whole thing, I mean, obviously it doesn't matter what I think or what I say. Things will go the way they go and people will do whatever they do. But the whole reason I made this video, it's one of those things when you sit back and you think about yourself, about your own life, about what possible nudges maybe universe was giving you and you've been ignoring. Overall, just kind of basically sit down and take stock. I know I do this regularly myself, for myself. I check myself all the time. No one's perfect. God knows I make mistakes. I do stupid things. Not that stupid though. Definitely not driving drunk. That's not one of the stupid things I do. But, it's time to maybe look at someone else's tower moment, and sit back and think about what we need to do, what steps we need to take within our own life to avoid a tower moment like Mr. Gregson had. Have a nice evening, everybody.